Hello, thank you so much for grabbing Become Irresistible. I'm really excited to chat with you through this masterclass. You can honestly, so I have the podcast microphone out. So if you are someone who is reluctantly sitting at your desk because you've been sitting for way too long today, this can be taken as a podcast. So feel free to just like turn off the audio and be on your way and then listen to all the different juicy verbal branding stuff we're going to talk about instead of following along with the presentation. But for my visual people, of course, there's a presentation, and I am so excited to help you define your verbal brand today, or in other words, your written brand. So let's share this screen and let's do it. And my goal for you guys with this masterclass is under 30 minutes, like maybe even 20, because there's nothing we do here that's like long and drawn out and over the top. I want to get you the results that you need in the shortest amount of time possible. So just to kind of set the scene there, we're going to go. So if you don't have paper in front of you, or whether you're using your iPad, a note sheet, your brain, like all is welcome here, but you might want to get your tools because we're going to be moving fast. But it's a recording too. So if I am talking at a million miles an hour, like I usually do, I highly recommend you take a pause, you take a look at the screen, you even stop and do some reflection as you're going, or maybe you just like go and then at the end you go back and workshop yourself. So choose your adventure, choose your path. I know it's going to be amazing. So today we're going to be talking all about becoming irresistible and how you can do that through defining your verbal brand. So what is it? I feel like we don't really talk about verbal brands. In fact, this might be the first time you're downloading anything about your verbal brand or being introduced to this. And if that's you, awesome. Look at you grabbing a freebie on something that maybe you haven't looked at, but maybe you've thought about your verbal brand, and this is going to open your mind up to it in a totally new way. So your verbal brand is the foundation of your business's communication. It's how you communicate the core aspects of your product positioning and solution in the market. So, similar to how your visual brand shapes perception, your verbal brand shapes participation. What does that mean? So, I love to give this metaphor and this example that, let's say you go to a party and someone approaches you and they are dressed to the nines. Like, think about the person you are attracted to, and that exact person just comes right up to you. You're probably going to want to hear what they have to say. You know, you're immediately captivated. Your perception is like, yeah, this is a person I want to talk to. And then they start speaking, and it's complete jargon. Maybe they are trying to sell to you like a car salesman, or they're just saying words to you that you don't understand. And you're just like, what? You want to immediately get out of that interaction. And then you've just like shattered that visual perception that pulls you in because you're like, I don't want to talk to you. So that's kind of the example I like to give, because that is so similar to exactly how your brand operates. You can have the coolest logo with like a hidden picture and a minimalist design, and then you have your fonts, your colors, everything. But if you don't have your verbal brand matching the perception people are getting from your visual brand, then you're in pretty but boring zone. And that is the last thing I want for you, because the whole idea about your verbal brand, that participation piece, is yes, the perception piece is there visually. We're humans. The first thing we think is visual. But when someone's thinking about furthering the interaction with you, it's all your words, it's all your verbal brand. So today, our goal in this session together is I want to shine a light on your verbal brand. It is the not so silent secret that gets overlooked all the time. And by the end of this masterclass, I'm so sure that we're going to get those wheels turning in your head so you can add a lot of depth to your overall brand strategy by focusing on how it sounds, how it operates in your industry, and how it communicates on top of how it looks. So we're going to be talking about what you're saying, but also how you're saying it. So we're going to look at the actual language you're using to communicate your brand and your brand voice, because anyone who's ever had someone say something to them, it's like night and day. You can say the same thing, but if you say it with a different tone, it's like a different sentence. And you can say things with like a really wonderful tone, but if it's not the clear communication that people need to understand what it is that you're doing, they're also going to overlook you. So, what makes up your verbal brand? We're going to dig into all of these pieces: your brand voice, your differentiation, mission, one liner, problem and solution articulation, ideal client avatar, product suite articulation, brand values, and founding story. I know it looks like a lot, but like I said, today is like really to get the wheels turning. And then I'm going to help you guys like figure out if you want to take this further, like what that would look like. So, big deep breath, collective deep breath. I know you can do this, and you're going to have a lot of like really great aha moments, and then let the deepening come after the session. So, oftentimes, because a verbal brand is not always something that we hear about a lot or something that we focus on, similarly to a visual brand, where I feel like everywhere I turn, it's like, get a brand identity, get a brand identity, and they mean a visual brand. It doesn't mean that the verbal brand is just like oh, when you get to a certain level, now it's time to start thinking about this. It is an integral part of your business. It's how your business communicates. Like straight up, this is how your business speaks. And we all know that when we're listening to something or when we're looking at something, the words on the screen and the words that we hear in our ears are exactly what gets us to take action. It's the complement to your visual brand. Like I said, pretty but boring is out. It doesn't work. You can have a gorgeous visual brand that maybe you invested 5 or 7K in, but if it's beautiful and cohesive, but it doesn't have a lot of meat or depth or communication or clarity to it, it's not going to do what you want it to do. It's the foundation of all of your verbal plays. So oftentimes when I do a verbal brand for a client, it's from the lens of writing their website, writing their copy, writing their sales pages, their emails. But think about your content. Think about Instagram, think about TikTok, think about LinkedIn, think about all the things you're putting on all of the social media platforms, your blogs. Think about all that. Think about what you're pitching to PR, how PR is going to represent you. Think about what you're saying to people when you're networking and they grab you and you have like a pig in a blanket. You're just like mid bite and they're like, what do you do? And you're like, this is all of your verbal brand. So it's one of those investments that when you make the investment, it just transcends into all aspects of your business. And for efficiency lovers like me, like you, that's a really good investment of your time and your money. So, and then the last one is how people self-identify if you are right for them. So that goes back into that perception versus participation piece we started this conversation with. Perception, that visual piece, is like how people see you. Participation is, wow, I really connect with this person. I really connect with this business and this brand. And yeah, they're right for me. And of course, I'm going to buy from them, or of course, I'm going to download their freebie, or of course, I'm going to follow them on Instagram. So you really want people to just look at you, read the words, hear with their ears, and think, yeah, they get me. And that is all words. That is all verbal brand. So before we get into all the different little laundry list items, I'm Lucy. So thank you so much again for coming to this masterclass. I am the founder of My Right Hand Woman. I'm also a verbal brand strategist, and I am a copywriter. So I've worked with hundreds of clients, some including global brands, e-commerce, tech, service providers, creative businesses. I've been all over. Like I say industry agnostic and then put an asterisk next to it. And then you go under and you're like, yeah, really, like very industry agnostic. The one thing that everyone has in common is they want to cut through the noise online. They want to have a brand voice that's so different, so fun, so unique, so funny, so emotional, so that they are able to really just get out there, get their message out there, maybe even be irreverent and be disruptive, not only in their product, but in the way they communicate about it. I'm also the host of the Bold Founder podcast. So if that sounds like something you want to get on your morning walk, if you like my whole mic setup situation, we can talk there too. And that really is a place for me to help people move bigger in their messaging, marketing, and moves. So I really view things so holistically in your business. So yes, brand voice is important. Yes, verbal brand is important. But let's think about your growth. Let's think about all the things you want to accomplish. I've been featured in a bunch of publications that I don't have to read out because you can read. And I also spent a year as a non-technical co-founder for a travel tech startup. And I like to kind of drop that because I really have a very global view of your messaging. And I view it in the context of your entire growth strategy instead of just like being a copywriter or being a verbal person that's just like, okay, yeah, brand voice, copy above all else. It's like, I really think about your business and your growth whenever I am making any sort of recommendation. And then I scaled my right hand woman to 30K to 45K months through organic content and zero cold pitching within 2 years. And I was hesitant to drop that number because I was like, oh, we're really going at the brag folder today. But as much as I really think my client results are very important and what I tend to share, my results are also important to kind of show that, like, look what's possible when you don't have to do the legwork of constantly trying to communicate your business or having that subpar communication. And we're going to get you there. I know it. I feel it. Let's do it. Okay. So what goes into your verbal brand? Step one, we got to define your brand voice. So the questions I want to ask you are, how does your brand naturally speak? So think about the industry you're in. If you're in hair care, maybe brands naturally speak in a really upbeat, uplifting, like confidence building way. That's how your brand naturally speaks. If your brand has any element of you, so you're a coach, then how do you naturally speak? That's step one. Step two, how does your ideal user, client, or customer want to be spoken to? Are you talking to Gen Zs who want all the slang? Are you talking to women who are 1 month postpartum who just need like all of the hugs and the love? Who are you talking to? How do they want to be spoken to? What is their emotional state? And how can you meet them where they are, saying the things that they are ready to absorb? So when you have these two things, I want you to make a giant Venn diagram. And then I want you to put, how does your brand naturally speak? How does your ideal user, client, customer want to be spoken to? There's going to be a sliver. There's going to be overlap. That's your brand voice. Those are the adjectives I want you to focus on. And then I want you to get granular on how can you convey that? It's one thing to say we have a casual brand voice. It's another thing to say we cuss like a sailor because we do not care. You are our friend and we're on a couch basically drinking wine whenever we talk to you. So when you're thinking about how to convey that, get really granular. What kind of sentences do I use? What kind of words do I use? What kind of words do I not use? How can I show these adjectives every single time I put pen to paper? That's your brand voice. Differentiation. Oh my gosh, my favorite word. Differentiation is the core of everything you write. I don't want you to see your differentiators as like this thing that's over there, that's like floating around. I want you to see it as, if I don't have a differentiator, I don't have a business. So if you do something differently, that should be the core of everything. That should be something that you are using as a key thing that you're bringing into your brand voice. So let's say your differentiation is you are the fastest shipment of ice. You sell ice and you ship that ice to people in under an hour. They're having a party. They're like, I need ice. You are the fastest shipment of ice. I better see some short sentences in there. I don't want to see any run-on sentences. You are the fastest ice shipper in the world. So that's kind of what I mean when I say bring differentiation into everything you are doing and keep that differentiator front and center. Define them, talk about them, make them clear, concise, confident. We are the fastest ice shippers in the world, and never hold it back. So write down your differentiators and really communicate them, and then make sure you integrate them into every aspect of your verbal brand. Your mission statement. So your mission statement is, if we zoom out, what are you doing in the world? Where is your business going? What narratives are you dismantling? And what is the big picture transformation that you're giving people? And that's transformation you can create with your eyes closed. So that's where I want your brain to go. That's where I want the wheels to spin when it comes to your mission statement. And then put it into a concise statement that drives action forward when people enter your business's ecosystem. I know it's so much easier said than done. But when I think about a concise statement, all I think about is have the element of, how are you different? How are you dismantling narratives? What is your big picture thing that you're trying to do? And then just say it. Put it into a voice note if you have to, and then write it down. But as much as you can, just get to the meat, the core, the heart of this, and then just say what you actually want to say, instead of trying to create this, like, we are X doing X through X. You know, we have all these like rigid frameworks, but honestly, I think the best mission statements are just when you say what your mission is. Yeah, really. Your company one-liner. So I like to think of the mission as the manifesto. And if the manifesto had a daughter or a little infant, that would be your one-liner. It's your mini pitch. If I see your one-liner in like 4 or 5 words, I should be able to kind of know what you do. So Airbnb's one-liner is really good. So I wanted to add it as an example. Book rooms with locals rather than hotels. So good. Like, right? Like, right to the meat. So, my question is, how can you simplify your mission statement, which might be like 2 to 3 sentences, into like 6 or 7 words? If I have like 2 seconds, remember that example where we're at the networking event and I'm like mid bite, like about to have a pig in a blanket? I need to like spit out a sentence so people don't see food in my mouth and like leave the interaction. So if I could only spit out 6 or 7 words, like what would I say about my business? What would you say about your business if you were in that situation? That's your company one liner. The problem and solution articulation. So this seems like such a, for a lot of people, they're like, oh my gosh, I know my customer pain points. I know my problem. I know my solution. Like, why am I doing this? I do this for every single coaching program I'm in. Well, we're doing it differently. When it comes to your problem and solution articulation, it's not only about this is the problem I solve, or these are the pain points. It's about how can I talk about the problem in a way that's aligned with my brand voice, actually the problem my ideal client is facing, and so enticing that when people read that problem, they're like, what? You're in my brain. And then the same goes for the solution. It's not just about we do X that fixes X. It's no, we do X in the best way that's ever been done because we do it this way. And then you tie in those differentiators into that transformation, writing all of that in your brand voice. So the first thing you want to do is think like, what is the root of the problem that you're solving? So oftentimes it's really easy to just think like someone has a hard time going to the gym. Like they just have a hard time being consistent because they're busy. But maybe you're a coach who helps people with mindset issues and fears that they have around being seen because they're scared to go to the gym and like someone's going to see them do the weird like hip abductors and like open their legs and make weird eye contact. Like, you want to get to the root of the actual issue your ideal buyer, user, client is facing. And then how can you talk about that problem in a really empathetic and relatable way? So, again, going back to that brand voice, how does your ideal client want to be spoken to? And then that's a really great kind of like springboard jumping off point where you can say, okay, well, you're experiencing this mindset issue. That's a really odd thing to say. No one would be like, hi, I am experiencing a mindset issue. You would be like, your brain is going a million miles an hour every time you're in the parking lot and you think about just like going home or doing some crunches on the asphalt and calling it. So it's a matter of just really getting into your ideal client's brain when it comes to that problem. And over to the solution, there's a current solution on the market. Whenever someone says there's no solutions to this problem, I'm like, okay, like cool. There is a solution. There always is a solution. It's important to acknowledge it, even if it's such a bad solution, and be like, this is what people are currently doing and it sucks. And then talk about how does yours shatter it? How is it different? How is it transforming something that was previously not able to be transformed? And speak boldly. Like I know that's like a little fluffy piece of advice at the end, but it's true. Like like why you're amazing, just say it. Brag about yourself. Do it because your product and your brand life changing. But we need to know. Ideal client avatar. Another one of those really contentious ones because for 2 reasons. One, people think they know their ideal client all the time. And two, people are scared to have an ideal client because they think if they have an ideal client, then they're just going to like turn off every other person in the world. So let's do ideal client the my right hand woman way. So I do not care that your ideal client drinks coffee on a Wednesday, unless you're a coffee shop that's only open on Wednesdays. And I am sassy for a reason because there's so many things you might think about your ideal client. Like she's a go-getter, she drinks coffee, but it's like, does that actually apply to the product, the brand, the business? Because you want to get so hyper focused on your ideal client in the context of how they're interacting with your business. I want to know who they are at their core. Instead of telling me they're a go getter, what does their Monday routine look like? And how does your unique business or product fit into that routine? How do they think? What are their worldviews? Who are they voting for? Like, what is going on in their brain? What does the mental chatter sound like? what have they tried? What makes them cry? Like, really go deep and always keep your business or brand at the center of it. Because if you're just saying, like, they have a cactus garden and then, they like to drink water from a bottle, like, yes, these are things that are about them, but it's not creating those psychographics that you need to actually speak to them. So I want you to paint your dream client and realize that you're painting the tip of the bell curve. And the cool thing about a bell curve, anyone on this side, anyone on this side, they can kind of relate to this person. So they're going to buy, but this person is going to buy instantly. You're not even going to have to get on a sales call because they're going to know as soon as they land on your website or as soon as they honestly meet you at a networking event, they're going to be like, here's my credit card, like done. It's over. So remember, you are creating for the tip of the bell curve, knowing there's going to be so much fallout. And then the cool thing is people will just naturally start to fold in. So you won't have to do the whole, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of articulating to my ideal client, but like the people who are dream clients are picking someone else. It's like, no, they're picking you because you know them, you're talking to them, and your product is amazing. Step 7, product suite articulation. What are you selling? I think when it comes to the product suite articulation, it's really easy to say, like, for the coaching example, I have a course, I have a mastermind, I have a one-on-one. For a florist example, I have multiple types of bouquets. For a SaaS product, we have 3 different levels of service. Cool. But for your product suite articulation, when we're thinking about your verbal brand, how do these things connect in the customer journey? Who's coming into each offer? What unique thing is each offer doing that's making it different than the other offers? Why are each of these things in your offer suite valuable in their own right? Is there a synergy if people do multiple in your offer suite? This is the kind of stuff I want to get at when we're in a product suite articulation. I want to know how your entire product suite works together. Because when we know that and we know how customers and clients are coming into your world, we know how to talk to them for different offers for different parts of the journey. So that's kind of where I want your wheels to turn as you're doing this part of your verbal brand. Step 8, brand values. What are non-negotiables? What are things in your business that you're like, I don't care if people pay us like $10 million, we're not doing this. You have values, and that's where there's let me just say there's very few things as business owners will not do for $10 million, but you have them. We all have them. We're all ethical, great people. So think about those things. And then a cool thing is to think about what is present when someone enters your world. Like, what are they going to see from your website and be like, oh yeah, okay, this person really values freedom. Or I say person, but you know what I mean, brand or business. Or this brand is so into family. Or wow, this SaaS company is big into connection, So it's just thinking, what are the things that are probably coming out of your business right now? You just haven't taken the thought to like identify them. And then when it comes to your brand values, please do not list them out somewhere like a corporate manual. I beg of you. We are going to weave these in very creatively. So when it comes to defining your brand values, yes, put them on your verbal branding document, name them, put them out there, but they're not a copy and paste of just telling your ideal client, these are our values. It's a matter of creating brand values that you're like, we can weave these into multiple parts of our customer journey. Founding story. At the core of your business is you as the founder. Or maybe you're not the founder watching this, but let's pretend you are. Most of you, I think, are. Don't hide. Don't be afraid of showing who you are, how you think, and why you started this company. Why did you decide to do something this radical? You could have gotten a perfectly comfortable 9 to 5 and just like lived life, log off at 5, get some chicken, watch TV, but you didn't. Nothing's an accident. What was that spark, or what was that where you were like, we're starting this company? And then I want you to tell your story like a novel. Can you give me those like juicy sensory details that make me like edge of my seat, be like, wait, what? And then that happened. And then what? Like, give me those rising actions. Give me that climax where you just like threw everything on the floor, literally or metaphorically, and pull me in. And then when it comes to weaving your story into sales, What are the parts of the customer journey where you can keep telling the story? I mean, we are goldfish, guys. We do not remember something when it's said to us once. We need to keep talking about the parts that are going to pull people in. And your story is just sheer power. If you're not using your story as a founder, you are leaving money on the table. Okay, so now it's time to talk about the work. So we really got the wheels turning here in terms of thinking about all the different things in your verbal brand and all of the different aspects of it, and making sure that you know that your verbal brand is important. It's the participation part when the visual brand is perception. And I'm pretty sure by now you're just like, I don't want to be a pretty but boring brand. And like, I hear you, because that's terrifying. I don't want to be a pretty but boring brand either. So you really have two choices from here. So our main studio, our main studio offer when it comes to verbal branding is called the brief. So what we do is we go through everything we went through in this masterclass, and we essentially create it for you. We define it, we do it, we get really deep into your business, and we create a verbal brand that pulls your people in. But we also, what we decided to do is we put our entire process into a workbook. So if you want to go from like this defining of your verbal brand into actually crafting it and doing it yourself and giving it a go, we've equipped you with everything that you need. So when you grab the workbook, we have added context around each aspect of your verbal brand. So, yes, we kind of did a little bit of that in here, but what we really did is we went deep into it and we showed you like each part of your verbal brand and like, okay, how is this important in the context of your business? We also created a fictitious company. It's really funny. It's called Baked with Hate. If I do say so myself, I went wild with the creativity. And we actually take that company through this exact process so you can see it in action. You can see our process and like what we would do with examples. We give like a week example of if I were to create this verbal brand, not in like a horrible way, but in like a medium way, versus if I were to create it in our studios, like let's go, let's cut through the noise way. You can compare that 1v1. And you also get a BTS look at our process. So all the different things we do to create those transformations in a verbal brand. And then we create space for you to define each aspect of your own verbal brand. So you can use this workbook as a DIY document, like go do it, roll up your sleeves, like let's create a verbal brand that is just going to break the internet. Or you can use it if you're like, I think I might want to use your studio to create my verbal brand because I really want your brain on my business and I want you to make it like juicy and fun and exciting, but I want to see your process before I make that investment. Then this is another great thing for you to see and witness that process before making that investment. It's $30. We kept it really accessible on purpose. We don't hide anything. This is the exact process we use. So if you're ready to just craft it and go beyond defining it and thinking through it, and you're just, ready to go, ready to put something on paper and hand it to your team and say, this is our written brand, this is how we're going to communicate, the workbook is seriously going to transform your business. So if you want to grab that, I think I'm going to put it in the YouTube video notes, but it's definitely right under this video on the page where this freebie lives that you went to when you saw this embed. So that's where it's going to live. So if you want to go grab it, it's right there. And you can always text me. Yeah, we're friends now. You can always email me at lucy@myrighthandwoman.com if you have questions, or Instagram DM me at myrighthandwoman, right spelled with a W. And I'm happy to answer questions if the workbook is right for you. Okay, let me stop this share. I hope you enjoyed this. How do we do on time? How do we do? I I think we're over. I was about to say, I think we crushed it. And then I'm like, I think we're over. But I hope you enjoyed this kind of rapid fire to get your business ready to go, your verbal brand, your written brand, whatever you want to call it, because I want you to find your people. And this really is it's one of the fastest ways, and it's such a great foundational piece to make that happen. So hope you have a great rest of your day. And thanks so much for coming in this masterclass.